I know I live a life that is different. I'm 21 years old and people look at me like I'm some kind of show-off. Rich kid that made his millions online, flexing on social media, flying in private jets, driving Bugattis, wearing watches worth more than most people's houses. Some say I'm lucky, some say I'm spoiled. Some people just hate me because they can't figure out how a 21-year-old can live like a billionaire. But here's the thing. I didn't get here by accident. It wasn't just handed to me. This life, this success, it's a result of years of hustle, sacrifices, and pushing through things most people would never even imagine. You see the glory, but not the nights I bled for this. Not the days I stood alone, broken and still moving. You didn't see my father in a hospital bed fighting for his life while I was out there fighting for our future. And none of it means anything unless it's for my family. Where you start doesn't define you. What you decide to become does. And this is my story. Elsterwerda, a small town south of Berlin in eastern Germany. For many, it's just a small place. For me, it's so much more. This is my home, the place everything started. I was born here, went to school here, discovered life here with all its ups and downs. And there are only about 8,000 people here, almost like a village. And that's exactly what I loved, just a simple life. And my parents shaped me deeply. My father drove me to every training session. My mother helped me with my homework. And we were like a team. I had friends, but the strongest bonds were always at home. My family was and still is my foundation, my everything. Our culture was always a part of me, even though I spent a lot of time with my German friends. At home we spoke Punjabi, ate Indian food, and at family gatherings we celebrated big. It was just a special blend, and it taught me to feel at home in both worlds. But not everything was easy. When I was about, I think, 8 years old, my father became seriously ill. Wegener's disease, a severe autoimmune disorder that attacked his blood vessels and later his heart as well. And back then, I didn't understand how serious it was. For me, it was normal that he was often in the hospital. Only later did I realize how much my parents were suffering and how strong they still were for me. There were times when we were told it could be over any day now. And that time shaped me. It taught me how precious life is and how important it is to never give up, no matter how hard it gets. My father's illness was a shock, but it also became my drive, and I knew I wanted to give back. I wanted to fight for him, for my family, and for myself. And that's exactly what I'm doing today. India is more than just a country. It's a feeling, an energy, a story that can't be squeezed into a few simple sentences. It's colorful, it's loud, it's wild, and at the same time, deep, silent, and wise. India is pure diversity in languages, in religions, and people, so many worlds within one single nation. And I honestly believe there's no other place on earth as multifaceted as India. And that's where my parents come from. And I feel it in my blood, in my DNA. India is a country of workers, not because they choose to be, but because they had no other choice. If you don't work here, you don't eat. There is no comfort zone, no backup plan. It's all or nothing. And from that grows a mindset that is unshakable, a fighter spirit, one that carries you through every drought and every storm. And my father grew up with that mindset. At 17, he immigrated to Germany all by himself. No diploma, no language, no plan. Just hope in a suitcase. My father was not a man of luxury. His motivation was never wealth, it was survival. When your driving force isn't a Ferrari, but the question of how you will eat tomorrow, you work with a completely different kind of strength. And that will tell them I have to survive, I have to give back, I have to make my family proud. And that kind of work ethic doesn't come from the mind, it comes from the gut, from instinct. He didn't just work, he fought. Together with my mother, he built a small pizzeria. Nothing glamorous, just with sweat, tears, and heart. And that was their life. And from that life, they made mine possible. I remember the stories my father used to tell, that there were nights where he couldn't sleep because the worries and the problems were way too loud. About moments where no one believed in him except himself. And that shaped me. A quiet warrior spirit, that mindset, even if you have nothing, if you keep going, you can create something out of nothing. My parents taught me what it means to take responsibility, what it means to stand up when it even hurts, what it means not to quit when everyone else has already given up. They both gave me normality, the kind of normality most people take for granted. But for us, it was hard-earned. And despite all the hardships, they gave me more than just comfort. They gave me values. They taught me that respect is the highest currency in the world. They showed me that real strength is quiet. It's not found in words, but in actions. And they sacrificed their ease so I could live with joy. They gave up their rest so I could play. And they carried burdens so I could dream freely. So when people ask me where my drive comes from, it comes from them. From the silent sacrifices, from the sleepless nights, from the hands that worked and the hearts that never gave up. My parents didn't just raise me, they built me. And that is the legacy I carry forward. For me, school was never a place of joy. I never liked going, not because I was stupid, but because I couldn't see the point in what I was doing. I didn't enjoy learning because I never felt like it truly mattered to me. In the subjects that interested me, I was good. English, for example, I loved it because I needed it for gaming. Suddenly I had a reason, a real connection. I wasn't bad because I couldn't do anything, I was bad because I didn't feel anything. And so many others out there feel the same way. They are not stupid, they are just bored. Not incapable, just unseen. If we don't show kids what they are allowed to burn for, it's no surprise they will eventually stop burning altogether. As a child, I was the complete opposite of who I am today. Loud, wild, full of energy. I wasn't a quiet observer, I was right in the middle of everything. I played video games, ran around, was never really still. I was a child with focus, but only for what touched my heart. And then life happened. This was the moment I realized that nothing in life is guaranteed, except the beginning and the end. You're born and you will die. Everything in between is just a gift, but also a responsibility. And when my father became seriously ill and I saw my mother's pain, something shifted inside me. It felt like the ground beneath me was crumbling. The safety I had always known as a child was suddenly no longer given. I gave up everything that used to bring me joy. Football, gaming, going out with friends. Everything that once felt light and carefree, I dropped it all because I realized there's something more important than fun right now. I want to become the best version of myself, not for me, but for the people who gave me life, for my father, for my mother. I wanted to give back what they had given me, everything. For many it might sound trivial, he sold this PlayStation. But for me it was a real turning point, a statement, a farewell to my comfort zone. It was my proof to myself, I can let go, I can grow. I can shift my focus from killing time to building with it. And that moment was like a silent vote to myself that I won't waste my time anymore. I'm going to build it. And that was the first stone. And today I know it was one of the most important ones. My first step into business was anything but strategic. There was no plan on paper, no Excel sheet. It was a feeling, a curiosity, a train ticket to Berlin, and just a few $100s in my pocket. And there on the shelves in the wholesale store, between the belts, the bags, and the textiles, I believed for the first time that I could create something. I took pictures of the products, uploaded them online, and sold nothing. Absolutely nothing. But I didn't stop, because anyone who wants to build something has to first learn how it doesn't work. And then came that moment. I saw a makeup case on Amazon, listed it on eBay, same text, same photo, bought it for 20 euros, sold it for 60, and it sold the same day. And I thought, wait, that's it? This actually works? And that was in 2018. I knew I had stumbled into something. I didn't have a warehouse, I had no supply chain, I just had the idea of connecting two platforms. The crazy thing is I didn't even know it was called dropshipping. I just did it. I saw a makeup case, transferred it from Amazon to eBay, and it sold. And I thought, wait a minute, how is that possible? And that one sale felt like a secret code suddenly being unlocked. I started Googling, searching, and reading. And then for the first time, I came across the word dropshipping. And what I had been doing purely on instinct suddenly had a name. And I knew I had stumbled onto something much bigger than I thought. Back in 2018, it wasn't as accessible as it is today. There was no hand guiding you, just your own will to move forward. So I started reading, took courses, watched YouTube videos, ordered books. It was all trial and error, weeks with no profits, nights filled with doubt. But with every failure, I got better, sharper, and clearer. And then one day, it clicked. I was sitting in school, 9th or 10th grade, physics class, my laptop on the desk secretly, and I checked it and saw the sales from the night before. And I had made more in one morning than my teacher earned in an entire month. And that's when I realized I have the same 24 hours as everyone else. So why should I spend them helping others to build their dreams when I could build my own? Since that one makeup case, e-commerce runs through my veins. Since then, dropshipping hasn't just been a business to me, it is my element, it's my home, and it's my path. I didn't stumble upon it by accident. It wasn't a coincidence, it was a meeting with my purpose. I remember it clearly, the washing machine broke. It was just a simple household appliance. But in that moment, it felt like a small end of the world. And in my mind, it was instantly clear, I know what I have to do. I was young, probably too young to just go out and buy a washing machine, but I still did it. Not because I could, but because I had to. And when she saw it, she just stood there, speechless, tears in her eyes, not because of the machine, but because of the gesture. And that was the moment I truly understood what money can mean when you use it in the right way. Not for watches, not for cars, but for love, for gratitude, for your family. And that moment changed me. It showed me what I was capable of creating, and I knew that I wanted more of that. Not more money, but more of that feeling of giving something back to people I love. Because there's nothing more fulfilling than giving something back to those who raised you. And that's greater than any gift that I could give to myself. That's wealth with meaning. In the beginning, you just grind. You work, you push through, sometimes for weeks, sometimes for months, without knowing if it will ever pay off. But then, eventually, it starts to bear fruit. It doesn't come quietly, it comes with a bang. The first McLaren is parked in the driveway, then comes the Aventador. suddenly you realize, wait a minute, am I actually spending serious money? But somehow it doesn't feel like spending, it doesn't stop. I buy watches, hundreds of thousands of euros, and the account stays full. I invest in Ferraris, I fly private, I spend six-figure amounts, and the balance doesn't even drop. That feeling when the business suddenly grows to a level you never even dare to dream of. I still have respect for money. I know a $10 bill is a $10 bill, no matter how many I have of them. But I've come to understand, once you learn the rules, once you crack the code, it's like playing GTA in real life. The most valuable moment wasn't the McLaren, it wasn't the expensive watch, it wasn't the private jet. It was the moment I handed my parents my credit card and said, do whatever you want. You are free now. No limits, no worries, just live. And I told them, whatever you need, just one call away. And in that exact moment, I knew I made it.
I always knew that Majid had something special about him. He was a young person who came to see us at a very young age, buying a very expensive watch. He had a lot of charisma about himself, and the way he carried himself, the energy that he had, you can tell he's someone who he had a very big future ahead of him. So, I'm so proud to have seen that from the beginning of him coming as an 18-year-old to now, we're in a villa worth tens of millions of dollars, and he has a Bugatti outside, and he's buying Richard Milles. So it's incredible, it's inspiring even for myself as a 37-year-old to see someone so young who's driven, pushing hard, motivated, doing everything they can do to wake up and chase their dreams. And it's really proved to me, and it shows to me myself, and I'm sure it shows others, that if you believe in your dreams and you manifest them, your thoughts become reality.
First time he walked into the showroom with his dad, and I recognized him straight away. And initially, you know how it is, Instagram's always plastic, you think it's not real, but he was the real deal. And I met him, I met his dad, I saw how humble they are. At his age, reaching such high levels of success, financial success, spiritual success as well. I think it's very inspirational to see someone so young. And for us, for me, been in the business for 20 years, someone at this level, it's something we need to learn from. And a lot of my friends, a lot of my colleagues ask me, how is Manjeet as a person? And he's so humble. And his dad's really humble as well, and amazing people. And I think it's a lot to learn from him.
My journey started with e-commerce and dropshipping, and to this day, that's my foundation. I started sharing my knowledge when I realized that my journey was inspiring others. At first, it was just content, my daily steps, my wins, but also my setbacks. Over time, more and more messages started coming in, hundreds a day, people telling me, Manjeet, your content changed my life. That's what pushed me to keep going. I saw how much demand there was, especially from people just starting out. People full of potential, but with no idea where to begin. And that's where my one-on-one mentoring came in. For me, it's not just a nice feeling, it's my purpose. Helping others improve their lives isn't a byproduct of my success, it's the reason for it. And as a kid, you get excited about receiving gifts, but as you grow, you realize true happiness doesn't come from getting, it comes from giving. And today I'm at a point where I could have anything I want, but that alone doesn't fulfill me. What truly fulfills me is that moment when someone looks me in the eye and says, Manjeet, you changed my life. I don't care about applause. I care about giving hope. And I've seen what happens when someone in my one-on-one mentoring goes from earning $2,000 per month to $30,000 or even $50,000 per month. It's not just their bank account that changes, it's their entire life. Their kids grow up in a whole new world, their parents travel for the first time in their lives, entire families step into a new level of freedom and abundance, and that is real impact. Not likes, not followers. Changing lives, that's the real metric. The biggest lesson I've learned is very simple, yet most people forget it. Health is everything. A healthy person has 1,000 wishes and a sick person has only one. We live as if waking up every day, breathing, walking is something we are entitled to. But let me tell you, when you are sick, all your goals, your visions and your dreams suddenly mean nothing. No car, no watch and no bank account can buy your health back. And I learned this especially through my father. When you watch someone you love suffer, you realize how fragile life really is. I was a little boy full of questions, full of worries, a child who couldn't sleep at night, afraid of what would happen if my father wasn't there the next day. I didn't know what tomorrow would bring. I had no answers, just this heavy feeling in my gut. There has to be more than this. While other kids were dreaming about superheroes, I was breaking my head over one question. How can I save my family? How can I escape this feeling of helplessness? And then one day, I must have been 13 or 14, something clicked inside me. There was fire, there was drive, there was this thought, I want to create something, I want to matter. And so I set off from a stressed out kid to a focused creator. I set goals and I chased them until they became reality. And every time I achieved one, I raised the bar even higher. Because some things in this world you simply can't buy. Health, time, love. But you can create the conditions for those things to grow. A healthy lifestyle, less stress, a safe home. These are priceless, and yet they often depend on money. While many people lie awake at night wondering how they will pay their rent tomorrow, I decided to get up early and work so that my family could sleep peacefully. The biggest success in my life was to give back to my parents. It's hard to put into words because no car, no watch, no amount of money in the world can compare. The very first goal I ever had was my parents should live without worry. And today I can say I've checked that box, a life goal fulfilled. I saw how much they sacrificed for me, how much they suffered, worked, and endured just so that one day I could be free. And today, the tables have turned. Today, I am the one who gets to give back, and that's exactly why I work so hard. Not for applause, but because there's no greater feeling than giving back to the people who raised you. That's love in its purest form. Because in the end, who are you doing all this for, if not for the people who loved you and always believed in you?